All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this show. This is Leslie Hassler with the Double Your Business Show, and today we are talking about how to design your sales conversations. So just as we are every Monday afternoon, we are live on Blab, and you can reach that if you're happen to be listening to us on YouTube, iTunes. You can reach that at yourbizrules.com/Blab, and you can join the conversation. So we typically have anywhere from 20 people to as many as 70 or 80 people on the show every week. That just depends a little bit about what we're talking about. And if you're joining us and you were expecting Debbie Merzak, well, we were too, but she had a scheduling conflict. So she will be here with us next week, and we'll really talk about upselling and cross-selling. But February has been all about sales because sales is a bit of, if you believe marketing is the fuel for your business, then sales is really kind of the oxygen. And since we kind of want to love our business, then we kind of got to embrace that loving sales and becoming a better salesperson. So as always, I have Amy on here with us. You want to say howdy, Amy?
Howdy. We're both Texas girls.
There you go. We're both from Texas, so we can both say howdy. Actually, anybody can say howdy, but I especially love to say howdy. And Amy's going to be helping with the chat that tends to get heated up a little bit on. She's going to do some great shout outs to those of you that are joining us and listening, and then as well as just keep us on track for time. So I do have some information that I'm going to share with you, and then we're going to open up and do kind of a Q&A probably in the last 20 minutes of the hour. So, 30 to 40 minutes of just kind of sharing some information as it pertains to the sales conversation. So are we ready? Do you think we're ready, Amy? You think we can go?
I think we're ready. Let's go.
Okay. Okay. So really today we're talking about the sales conversation. Now, one of our most popular episodes was, a couple weeks ago where we were talking about how to compete on value and not on price. Well, the sales conversation is one of those things that you do to support the value that you give. And so we're going to talk a little bit about things. As a highlight, we're going to talk about who needs a sales conversation and who doesn't. We're also going to talk about how you can design that perfect sales conversation, and then we'll open up for Q&A. But let's start in with who needs a sales conversation and who doesn't. Well, it's easier, I think, to say who doesn't first, because it's pretty much if you are in emergency services. So if somebody is in an emergency situation, be it they need an emergency plumber, an emergency electrician, a medical practitioner, guess what? You don't have time for the conversation, and they're just happy that you answered the phone and will come out to their house. So typically a sales conversation not so needed in that situation. But I think the other part of it is when we look at some of our commodities. I don't know, Amy, do you have conversations with the gas station owner that you go and buy gas from?
No, not at all. In fact, I don't even see them. I mean, you don't see them anymore, right?
You don't see them.
Yeah.
There's somebody in there that could help you if you need it, but you don't even need to do that. You can press the little button by your gas pump and say, I'm having problems, and they tell you to hang up the pump and pick it up again and reset and go from there. So there are some certain things like the basic necessities. I was thinking I had grocery stores on here, but that's kind of, I don't know how many grocery stores in your area, Amy, have the automatic or the self-checkers. And I find that yeah, most of them. Yeah. And a lot of times, unless I'm doing big grocery shopping, I'm in the self-checkout. And so I'm not even having conversations with the people that I'm spending $300 on groceries with, So it's really interesting where we don't need those conversations. But that opens up, that's just kind of a small piece of the pie. What's left is really a lot of people. So if your business competes on value, so you don't want to be a price business, right? You don't want to just tell people your price and have them hang up on the phone on you and walk away. That happens when you tell them what the price is right off the bat. And I'm actually going to give you a nifty little way to handle that in a few minutes. But when we want to compete on value, when we want to see an increase in sales, I was thinking about this. I have a friend that owns a wine store. And so they have curated wines, they go out and find, they don't use a lot of the distributors. So they're trying to be really unique in their wine. And we were talking about the sales conversation and how many people don't really understand what it is. And she's like, hands down, it's what makes us, it's the difference between whether a customer comes in and buys 1 bottle of wine or a customer comes in and buys 2 bottles of wine or 3 or 4 or, half a case. But you can see the sale, if you're having a conversation with somebody, it enables them to know and like you even better. And most people are willing to spend unless they come in and say, I have a flat budget, but help me make the most of it. So even in a lot of situations, you're going to have those abilities where these sales conversations, even if you don't think they would apply, really do apply. And here's the thing to say, and this is one of my favorite quotes from Jeffrey Gitomer, who I read like the Little Red Book of Sales. I don't know if you've ever heard of Jeffrey, but he can be very New York, but he's a brilliant man, especially when it comes to sales. And he says, you know what? People don't like to be sold to, but they love to buy. I don't know. Do we have anyone on the line today in our rooms who loves to be sold to? I don't think I'm seeing any hands. I don't think I'm seeing any hands. And here's the interesting part, and I think I went into this a little bit last week when we were talking about that sales funnel. Most of us are now considered expert buyers, right? We know how to go in and buy. Most of us know how to go in and negotiate. Most of us know all of the old sales tricks that would be used on clients to get a sale. Well, that's not the case. Your clients now know a lot. They're sophisticated. There's a lot of sophistication there. So they don't want to be sold to. But how many, I guess for women, we're probably personified this, but we love to go out and shop. Shopping is the experience, right? We like to come home and tell our husbands and our friends about all of our good buys. Oh my gosh, you should have seen this. Where did I get it? Da, 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 da. It's an experience to buy. And so we want to create that same experience in your business. I think that should make sense. We want to help our clients buy. So as part of this sales conversation, there's a couple of things that it serves some purposes. One is it gives us an opportunity that whoever we're talking to on the phone, we can figure out if they're a good client fit, because we all know what happens if they're a bad client fit. It's not much fun, is it, Amy?
No, it's not.
More trouble than it's worth. But, as part of the conversation, we're also going to look at for what problem do they have and can we solve that? We're looking again, would this be a beneficial relationship? We also need to measure how ready they are to buy. Do you realize you can ask that question? Like if I was able to answer every question that you had today, are you ready to buy? And if not, why? I mean, wouldn't you think that's something important to ask? Are you ready to buy? Are you just kicking tires? Or are you just trying to figure it out? Where are you in the purchasing decision? You would treat a client very differently, wouldn't you? From if you knew they were ready to buy today, or, I just had some questions. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be ready to buy for 6 months. Yeah. You would treat somebody completely different. Mm-hmm. And then you want to help them see the cost of their problem. And we've talked several episodes about the YES formula, about you've got to be able to get into the problem and the pain and the promise and the plan in order for somebody to say yes to themselves. And that's really what they're doing. They're not saying yes to you. They're saying yes to themselves. But this is a problem where when somebody's had this problem for so long, even if they're ready to do something about it, maybe they don't fully understand the cost of the problem. That's where that value proposition kind of comes in. So that's a little bit of why we're talking about sales conversations today, why this is important, who it helps, and what you can expect to see when you design a sales conversation. Hey, Amy, do we want to do some shout outs out there? I see some people kind of popping in and popping out.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to just welcome. We had, and I'm going to have trouble pronouncing this name, and I apologize. So it's Thibodeau Powell's just joined us, and again, please feel free to jump into the chat and tell me how to properly pronounce your name. And then Chief Sosa just joined not too long as well. So welcome and thanks for coming today.
Awesome. And I know we've got a couple of viewers out there that are just viewing but aren't in there in our chat box, and that's how we tell who you are. It gives us a little message. So I see just a handful of people out there doing that. So if you joined us, thank you so much. But here's what we're talking about today. We're talking about how to design your sales conversation so that you can sell on value. And I was just sending a little tweet out there so let people know what we're doing today on the show and invite them to jump in. So if you are liking what you've heard so far, you like what we're sharing, feel free to share us on social media. That's how we let people know that we're out there. If you're on iTunes listening to this as a recording, remember you can jump over to the show every Monday afternoon at 1:30. Okay, so we're going to get into the sales conversation here. And there's a couple of reasons why this has to be a really active, intentional design of the conversation. I don't know. It's a bit like you're going to take a test, but you didn't study. And what happens when that happens? Yeah, some days you may win, some days you may lose, right? We want to have a very high likelihood of success. And to do that, we need to prepare. But there's a couple of things that we need to understand about the sales conversation. One is I need you to understand the psychology of a yes. We are conditioned to say no in sales situations, even if we want things. We've all had these past experiences that really kind of condition us to say no. And part of the design of the sales conversation is to help people say yes. So we're just going to give them these little tidbits, easy things to say yes to. And it's not so much that you're making them an offer. It's not so much that you're going to sell them and pounce on them. But it's things like there's parts of the sales conversation that is about having them say yes. So let me give you an example. Somebody may have shared something and you can go, well, hold on a second. I want to make sure that I heard you right. This is what I understood you to say. Is this correct? There's an opportunity for a yes, right? But there's also an opportunity for correction. These little yeses help people say yes to the end zone. It's not so much that you're being unethical in it, because obviously if they're not a good fit, if you wouldn't do, your work wouldn't serve them, you shouldn't be offering them anything at the end. But, we're just helping kind of prime the pump, as it will, so that if it does wind up being a good situation in the end, it's more easy for somebody to say yes because they've spent some time with you saying yes. Hey, Amy, what's your opinion of the sales conversation? What do you think people think about sales conversations?
That generally precede sales. Usually people will go, ugh, they're scared of sales conversations.
Oh, and it's easy to be scared, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I haven't always enjoyed my sales conversations, but once I understood the structure of them, then I was a little bit more purposeful with them. So the first part that we're going to talk about is really understanding that psychology of yes and why helping a client say yes during the conversation is important to you being able to get the yes at the end. The next part of it is the art of the interview. Do you watch, what is it? What was it? What was Barbara Walters on? Was she a 60 Minutes lady? She was on 60 Minutes, wasn't she, Amy?
So. Yeah.
Yeah. So you may or may not know, but one of my first degrees is journalism. And journalism is a little bit about writing, a little bit about fact-checking and proofing, but a lot about the art of interviewing. And Barbara Walters is one of those really sophisticated interviewers, but very formulaic at the same time. So if you've ever watched Barbara Walters interview somebody, she asks a really basic question, a really easy question, a really easy question, a wham! She hits people like a hammer, usually on question 4. So what is she doing when she's trying to do that? Why did she structure her interview that way? And it's a very, I guess in journalistic worlds, it's a very studied approach because you're asking really basic questions, right? So you're helping people do what?
Get comfortable with you.
Yeah, exactly. You're helping them get comfortable.
Yep.
And so when you're helping them get comfortable and then you're making it easy, this is Sam. Sam's like saying hi in front of us. He says, I need a head rub. And Ocelot's over there. So if I suddenly have a cat fight behind me, there's Sam coming behind. You'll know why. But by creating a comfort level for people when you're talking with them before you get to the heavy questions, you kind of create this safe little bubble. Because most people, I think more so now, is we're not taught to be vulnerable. We're not taught necessarily to be open. We're taught to be strong, to be confident, to, not let anybody know there's a problem going on. And so somebody has called you because they had an issue. You're going to help them kind of come out of their shell a little bit and be honest. And that's kind of what this art of the interview part is about. And I'll show you when we get into two different ways that you can structure the conversation, how that starts to kind of get built. So a couple of things. Here's your homework before you even can start writing your questions. I know nobody loves homework. Everyone hates homework. So let's go over the homework and then we'll do a few more shout outs in a second. But here's your homework is you need to know the problem you solve and what it looks like for your client. That's some of your basic stuff that you should do in the setting up of your business. I'll tell you why that's important in a second. You need to understand what pain or what discomfort your potential client is in and how it feels, what it makes them feel like. Okay. You also need to know the common objections you hear. I have 4 fingers up, but I've only said 3 things. The common objections that you hear from your clients during the sales process. And then you need to know the ways that you serve your clients, be it the products, be it the service levels, so that you can help guide them to the right solution. So what you don't want to have is you don't want to get to the end of a conversation and say, oh, I have this way and this way and this way that I can help you. Which one seems good? Not an effective measure, okay? You want to give a little bit more of a definite option there. When people have too many choices, they tend to choose nothing. And so we don't want to give them that kind of situation. So, okay, that's our homework. Thank you for sharing those in our chat box, Amy. I know I can talk fast, so kind of slow down today. Who do we have? I think we've got a couple more new people had joined us today. Sam says hi.
We have May Reed, who just joined us, and we also have Flo and Snow, who actually joined earlier, but I missed them on the last round of shout out. So thanks for being here.
Awesome. So, okay, so let's get started. Let me move on here. Now, guys, every week we're going over strategies that are really meant to double your business. And this month, we've been in sales. And I've only given you 4 episodes, but there are a lot of different strategies that really impact your business. Amy, can you get the 169 ways?
Yeah.
I didn't put that in our notes, but I do want to share that with us. You'll find there are 87 ways that I've kind of documented that are all about marketing and generating leads in your business, getting people in the door. Well, there's 82 other ways, and we're sharing 4 of them this week in sales that you can double your business. So if you want to go ahead and grab that, it's a quick little tool, a quick little checklist, if you will, that I use with my clients all the time, especially when we're starting out, of just what strategies we're going to use to concentrate to grow their business. You don't need 169. You need about 1, maybe 2, 3 if you're a rock star, but I like to give people choice and everybody's business is in a different situation. So there's 169 ways that you can go out and grab, and that's just at yourbizrules.com. I think the short link is 169 ways. If you're in the chat box, Amy's pasted it there for us as well. All right, so let's get into, we've talked about so much so far. We've talked about who this is good for, who it's not good for. We've talked about the psychology of yes. Does the psychology of a yes make sense to you, Amy? Like why you want to make it easy for people to start saying yes? I have a cat. My cat won't stay out of my lap. And then we've kind of talked about the art of the interview. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, and I was just going to say that I had not thought about the concept of, asking these small questions, these easy questions to kind of prime them for the yes.
Yeah, it's something, it is the psychology of that. And I try to bring the psychology of what we're doing as business owners all the time, because you start the sales conversation in very conscious ways and very subconscious ways. And this is one of those subconscious ways that you can support your sales conversation. So let's get into the formulas. There are a couple formulas I'm going to share with you. So one, if you've been in the online world, you would have seen, if you've been with Lisa Sasevich or Bill Barron, I've done both of their programs. And it really kind of focuses on one way to do it is like problem, pain, transformation. So that would be like the problem that they're having, the pain that they're in, and then what they could hope. I think Bill Barron talks about it. It's like what's on the other side of the rainbow type of a thing. Bill Barron's formula is more transformation first, then problem, then pain, then offer. But you can still see that problem, pain, benefit model there. The next formula that I want to share with you, and you may not have known this. If you've been around for a while, you've seen this before, but it's really about spin selling. So spin selling is an old concept. There's a book by Neil Rackham, and I think Amy will share us the title out there. Let me tell you, the book is kind of dry. It's very research oriented, but if you like Good to Great, Great to Great Choice by Jim Collins, then you're going to like Spin Selling by Neil Rackham. But this is really kind of the grandpa of sales formulas, of sales conversation formulas that everybody now is kind of leveraging. So I like sometimes to go back to the granddaddies so that we can get the true or the pure, the kind of firsthand knowledge there, and then use what you know about today, and use, if Lisa Sasevich's model makes sense to you, if Bill Barron's model makes sense to you, use it. And I suppose that's a really key point. I didn't have this in the note, but whichever model you choose one that works really well, that feels very comfortable with you, because they all work. But if you try to, it's kind of like if you've got a size 7 foot and you try to slam it into a size 6, it doesn't work very well. Same thing happens here. If you aren't very comfortable from an ethical standpoint, from how you like to do business standpoint, in a certain sales model, then you're going to struggle with it more than you would if you had something that you were more comfortable with. Comfort, though, doesn't relate to skill level. You'll probably have to learn on some level there. It's just it needs to be good with your soul. So when we look at spin selling, there's basically the spin stands for this. S stands for situation, P stands for problem, I stands for implication, N stands for next steps or next benefits. I think I messed that up just a little bit, but need payoff. There we go. So the situation is really those boring questions, the basic questions. So Amy, tell me, how long have you been in business? Okay, not getting a whole lot of information from this, but remember what I said about that art of interviewing? We're giving easy questions. Okay, so you can ask, what's going on? Why are we talking? How are things going? And they're really basic questions. And you're not going to spend a whole lot of time in here because basic questions are also boring questions. Right? The boring questions. So we want to make sure that we have a few things that tell us what we need to know, give us a frame of reference, but it's also that opportunity to go, hey, Amy, do you have any kids? Amy didn't know she was going to be our...
Yes, I have 3 kids, Leslie.
Oh, well, tell me about them. How are they? Especially for most women, getting that bit of connection going. I have 2 kids. Amy and I know each other well enough that, we know the kids situation. But almost every time we talk, we start talking out. What do we start talking out about?
The kids.
Our kids.
Yeah,
our kids. Even this morning.
Yep.
Yeah, even this morning. Absolutely. How are the kids? How was the family? How was your gym tournament? Hey, how was the gym tournament? How did he place?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a little chit chat. It's a little bit of setting the situation, but it's also a little bit of getting a connection. Okay, because a lot of times, especially if you're in this online world of marketing, you don't always have face-to-face conversations. So you have to develop relationships and connection points really soon. The next one we talked about is the problem. So a lot of times you need a transition question, and that transition question could be, you took the time out of your busy day to talk to me. Tell me why. What's on your mind? What problem are you looking to solve? and just getting the conversation started. And you want to define this problem not just so that you understand it, but also that your client really understands it. Because we've talked about there's the problem that people come to, and there's the problem that you solve. And sometimes, what you solved isn't what people think they need, but it really is. And we got to figure out what those problems are so that we can offer a good solution. The implication part is that kind of next step, and that's really on significance, right? We're building significance to the problem. So somebody could have a problem, and you could say, well, so okay, so what I hear you say is that you're really having a problem getting your team members to come back from lunch on time. How big of a problem is that? They could say, oh, it's a really big problem. I don't know what to do about it. Or they could say, you know what? We just figured that's the way that business is going to be, and we're not going to worry about it. They're like, okay, not a problem. Moving on. It's a problem, but they're not really motivated to solve it. So that's really what that kind of implication questions happen, is they start to help you define the problem a little bit more clearly and see where it stacks on the kind of the rungs of importance. I know when I'm talking to somebody, I want to hear 3 big problems, that we could solve and we could work together. That's a good indicator for me. Usually if it's just one problem, then I'm probably gearing them to a very tailored solution, maybe a group program or a home study program that just solves that one problem. Or it might be like a VIP day for me, where I'm just going to go in and go out. But I know if there's multiple problems, that probably is a longer term client for me. I can probably talk about one-to-one work. It would make sense to do that. I think that's kind of making a little bit of sense there. That's one of those things to where, especially in implications, when you're looking at problems, let's see, I feel like I should say this one comment first. From the problem and the implication, it tends to be like a circle. You tend to go problem, implication, problem, implication, problem, implication, not so much problem, 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 question, implication, 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 question, because then it doesn't make sense. So if I said, let's see, let's make up a problem, Amy. Amy, let's see, what do you want to be? Who do you want to be today? We can make you anything today.
I don't know. Who do I want to be today? I don't know. What wonderful entrepreneur lives in Hawaii and surfs by day and works at night?
Okay, so how about your surf instructor in Hawaii who caters to tourists who want to learn how to surf?
You were good. That sounds fabulous.
We'll go there. And let's say that your problem really is you can't get the word out, right? You can't get the word out. And I talk to you and I'm saying, well, what does that mean for your business if you're not able to get the word out?
Mm-hmm.
If you can't find new clients, what is that going to mean?
No sales.
No sales. You'll have to go back to the luau and serve roast pork. Maybe that's a good job. I don't know. But you see, there's an implication to the problem. You've got to kind of dig a little bit under this when you're designing your conversations. Basically, what you're looking for in this area is there a problem that I can solve? How important is it to my client that they solve that problem? And what does it mean if they don't solve it? That's really what those 3, when you're in this kind of implication problems section, that's really what you're focused on. I think there's so many bouncing on and off today. It's kind of fun. By the time I think we see somebody new, they're bouncing off. So there must be some issues with Blab this week. But so we've got, that's a little odd.
It does seem really odd. Yeah, we've got people and just not the numbers normally. So there must be something going on.
Yeah, there's like we said, we came on to Blab and we're like, oh, this is different. Oh, that's different. So I'm sure there's some different things today. So we've talked about the situation, we've talked about problem, and we've talked about implications. Amy, do you feel like that's pretty clear? Or do you think I need to clarify any one point a little more?
No, I think you've been great. I think that's great.
Okay, so that last section is that need payoff kind of realm. And really what this need payoff focuses on the benefits of the solution. So Amy, you are a fabulous surf instructor. And I know that if we could just get you in the 10 clients you're looking for, you'd be able to help improve the world, help people have more fun on their vacations, do something that you love and make money, that we do that. So if I can really pull together a solution for you that would bring in the marketing so that people heard about you, knew how you did that. If we could get maybe some automated things so even people could schedule their lessons with you before they came. We had a great referral program so that you had concierge at all these lovely resorts that were willing and ready and able to refer to you, and you felt comfortable during all of this. Would it be worth this? Would it be worth working together?
Yes, absolutely.
We're having a little fun. It's always so easier when you do this than when you're in the real life situation. But you can see that focusing on the benefits of the solution it's easy for them, right? They get what they want. Whatever that benefit they were looking at gets kind of reiterated back here. And we're also asking that kind of solution-based results. So what would this look like a good fit for you? Do you need this? If I could give you this element of that, would that be helpful for you? And I like this area because it's really, it's kind of that lead up to the offer where you're designing where to offer. And, if you're a service-based business, I can speak the best to this, but, usually we have levels of service that we can work with somebody, and you can start to feel out and say, well, look, I think there's really two ways you could go here. I could give you the marketing, I can give you the automation, I can help you with the referrals so that you're good to go on that. And there's two ways that we could do it. One way says we'd work one-to-one together. It would be highly customized. We're going to meet every couple of weeks, but I am so focused on you. I am only working on you at this point in time. Benefit is you get great work, quick work. We'll be able to dive deep and you'll get everything you need. The other way that we could work together is I have an upcoming program in 2 weeks, and it's for, Sam saying hi again, it's for a small group of 10, and we're going to work on the same things. It's just because there's an environment of so many people, we're going to be able to have that mastermind type of things. You'll still be able to ask me more questions, but you'll probably be doing a little more of the figuring out work on your own. Which of those two solutions sounds like the right fit for you? Who knows? Half the time people say, I don't need accountability. I don't need this. I'm like, great, this is for you. Do you want to know more about it? Or if they say, no, I really, I need to take my time. I don't think a quick little program is going to work for me because I have questions and I want you to hold my hand. I want you to be there with me every step of the way. Well, then maybe one-to-one work is there. Just kind of how you start to guide into the offer. Okay, let's see. Who do we have? Any more shout outs that we want to do, Amy?
Yeah, we have Donna Cravata that just joined in, and Roland Millward was here for a little while. I think he got kicked off, but hopefully he'll come on back.
I think, like we said today, it seems like Blab is allowing people in and kicking them off for no good reason. We see a lot of people kind of popping in and out. So hi, Donna. Thanks for joining us. This is the Double Your Business Show, and we're talking about designing your sales conversations. And we're doing pretty good on time. I want to kind of go through some of the common questions that I get when it comes to designing this conversation. And it probably first starts out with that first phone call. How many, Amy, have you ever had this? How much do you charge?
Yeah, right off the bat. Sometimes, every once in a while.
How tempted are you to answer that question? How much do you charge? That's kind of a rhetorical question for everybody that's out there. But most of us, when we get such a pointed question, oh, Amy has a comment. What do you have? What do you want to say to that, Amy?
Well, generally to me, if that's the first question they're asking, then they're looking at a price point, not necessarily the value. And so for me, it's kind of a like, can we pull back from the price point and let's talk about the benefits and what you need first.
Yeah, and it's, for a lot of people, if it's their first time using you, they don't know the question to ask. All they think they can really compare on is apples to apples, which is price to price to them. But as the expert, we know that it's so much more than price. There's a lot of things that kind of go in. So how do you handle that question if somebody says, hey, how much do you charge?
I generally say we can talk about that, delay it basically is to delay that and then talk more about, what is it they're looking for and what do they need before we talk about, the price.
And that's exactly what you want to do. You want to delay that conversation. If they're going to pressure you about price, you're going to have a really good indicator that this is not a good client fit. And thank you, but no thank you. But usually, especially in my first business design, everybody wanted to know how much. And I'm like, it's custom. I have no idea. But here's a good way that I learned to handle this is the first time you get that, price question, and that might be a red flag to you. Don't consider it a red flag yet. Go through and say, well, that's a really good question. Would you mind if I asked you some questions so that I could answer it honestly? Because that's exactly what you said, Amy, isn't it? It's the exact same thing. You want to find out a little bit more, and you're getting their permission. So from what we learned earlier, what is that question? Do you mind if I ask you a few questions? Do you mind if I ask you some more questions so that I can answer that honestly? It's a yes question, right? Right off the bat. And if they say no, well, then it's not a good client fit. Don't worry about it. Moving on. But that tends to be like people want to know, how do you get into the conversation? With what I do now, it's easily, that initial hour conversation. With what I did in design, it was the way I qualified people before I would go out to their home to see if there's something that we could do there. But it's that first question, right? You're like, you know what? I understand price is a concern, but we're going to have to put that on the table because I need to know more. Or I give you a bad price. You don't want a bad price, do you? There's lots of ways to kind of ease yourself into that so that you're really kind of designing this. Okay, so I want to see if we have any questions kind of coming out. We are talking about designing your sales conversation. We've gone over a lot of things earlier in the call. If you're just joining us, from everyone who needs the sales conversations to who doesn't need it. And basically, we said the who doesn't need it's like a really small percentage of people. The gas station doesn't need a sales conversation. An ER driver does. 911 doesn't need a sales conversation, right? The plumber in the middle of the night when your hot water heater is overflowing and running down your walls. These people don't really need sales conversations because you just need what they have and you're willing to pay, even if you know it's going to be expensive. Then we talked a little bit about kind of the art of interviewing. The psychology of yes, we just kind of referred to that with that first question. Everybody wants to know how much and how to respond to that, as well as what the kind of formulas are. Now, when I walk a client through designing this, it's easily a couple-hour conversation because where I'm listening to them talk about what happens when a client comes in and they have this conversation, and I'm writing questions to mitigate whatever that concern is. Okay, so I told you earlier on that you needed to know what the common objections are. Do you know you could actually say, what's your biggest hesitation? Why, if I could give you everything you wanted today and you just felt like you couldn't say yes to it, why would that be? You could also ask, what's your biggest concern? Have you ever worked with in Amy's case, a virtual assistant? Have you ever worked with a business coach? No. Well, tell me, what do you think about that? God, I'm scared shitless. Yeah, somebody could say that. I think it's a good idea, but my best friend had a horrible experience. And you can talk about that experience. Say, okay, well, tell me about that. Tell me about the experience. What was so bad about it? Da, 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 da. You're not getting into a conversation about, well, that business coach or that soap plumber didn't know what they were doing. Not the way to go. But you start to get into the conversation and you start to find out what their objections are going to be later, right? So if somebody's had a bad experience, it's one of two ways. I will say either they were a bad client, okay, and they just weren't a good fit, and you need to look and be really honest with yourself about whether or not they would be a good client for you. But the other part is that you might hear situations of, here's how we're different. Man, that does sound like a horrible experience to have gone through. But before we begin, let me just share a few ways that we're different. One of my best skills is simplicity. I don't like making anything hard because I have found that if it's hard, nobody does it. And if my job is to help you get change and results in your business, I have to make it easy. You know, that's how you suddenly can share something about yourself and about what makes you so different and start to take away these objections. There's also a lot of things at the end of it where you can flat out go, tell me, have I answered all your questions? No. Okay, great. What questions do you have for me? You know, there's a part of the conversation, you're going to be responding to what they're saying. You're going to be, mirroring back to them what they're saying. But it's also the opportunity to plug out and pull out these objections before the end, before you get to the offer. Because if you know what they are here, you know what to say down here, right? The guesswork is when we don't know what to say and we try to guess what we need to say in order to help somebody along in that sales conversation. So, okay, so I'm not seeing too many questions out there. I know I share a lot of information. Like I said, we're having another fun day on Lab. Amy, can you think of anything that you know me and you know the work we do for so long? Amy and I've worked together 2 years, 3 years. I don't know. How long is it?
I think it's about 2.5 at this point.
Yeah, it's about 2.5. So Amy's been along for the long haul there, but I just want to make sure that people are getting what they need from here. We are talking about a lot of different strategies to help grow your business. If it's doubling your business you want to do, a lot of people, that's not an unreasonable goal for them. So if you are liking what we're sharing today, then I would love to invite you over to go get the 169 ways to double your business in 90 days. And you can get that at yourbizrules.com/169 ways. Now, Amy's going to put a link in our chat if that's something that you're interested in. But if you're catching this recording, go ahead and try that one. We're actually going to revamp it. Always improving, constant improvement. Almost done. Yay! Such a fun way. So if you're listening, try to get that as quickly as you can, because we will be pulling it off the market here in the next couple of weeks. So just want to make sure that people have an opportunity for that. I'm going to go ahead and unlock the open seat here. Give somebody, if there's out there, like I said, we just see people popping in and popping off a lot, so I'm not sure who's on. I know, Amy, you've seen people come on that I'm not seeing, so I'm sure there's somebody out there. But if you'd like to get on the seat here and talk about the sales conversation, or if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take those. Do we have another shout out that we need to do?
Right now we have Don Morrison, who joined not too recently. Did I already?
I don't think so.
Shout out to him. All right. Well, even if I did, here's another one. Welcome, Don.
Howdy. Thanks for joining us, guys. It's a lot of fun to be out here with you, and we just have more fun the more people that are interacting with us and talking with us. So kind of leave things there. I'm trying to think. I think I've really shared, so many situations that today. I want to see if there's any other kind of specific examples I can share, because I know that's really helpful for people.
Mm-hmm.
I know with one client I had, it was funny. She talked about who else is helping you make these decisions. So a business broker usually if a business is looking to sell, there's lots of people giving input, lots of people giving advice, but not always the right people giving advice, and not always people giving the best advice. I think there's a saying, if you ask for free advice, then you get exactly that, stuff that's not worth a whole lot. And so that was one of her obstacles, is that people would have too many people giving advice and being quasi decision makers, which can make it really hard to discuss. So, one of the questions we designed is, who else is involved in the decision to sell your business?
Yeah, that's a great question.
We want to know, well, who else are you receiving advice from?
Mm-hmm.
Who else are you going to want to double check things with before you are able to commit? You know, it's great ways to know if you're talking to the decision maker or one of four. Because I don't know about you, but a lot of times I want to have everyone on the line that's going to be a decision maker because it's more impactful that way. It's better that way. But that's why a lot of people also record their sessions so that they can be shareable with some of those other decision makers if they're not available online. Well, you know, I'm not seeing a whole lot of questions out there. That's okay, though. I'm sure they'll pop up. So I am just going to say that we're going to be able to wrap up a little bit earlier today, which is a yay for all of us. The biggest thing about the sales conversation is, guys, you've got to realize that it has to be pretty customized to your business. I think that's one of the downsides to doing formulas, especially when you get pre-supplied questions, is they're not very tailored to your situation, your business, your selling needs, your clients' needs. And so you've got to make sure that you actually intentionally sit down and design these questions to support the whole sales conversation. You shouldn't get to the end of your offer and have things be a surprise. It should really be this, you know, thing that you and your potential client are building layers and layers on as you kind of go through the sales conversation. So that's going to be it for today. Amy, I know I keep asking you this. Poor Amy's had to do that. I don't get questions from you guys. I'm going to ask Amy to ask me questions. But I think we've covered a lot.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so. I mean, you know, and I was amazed by how good you are at all the different scenarios. You know, is that I throw an odd scenario at you and you can come up with marketing strategies immediately for it. And it's like, wow. Concierge at the hotels. This is awesome, you know. So I enjoy that.
Oh, well, thank you. Howdy, Prodigal 213. We've got a late joiner for here today. But, you know, that's, you know, interestingly enough, another one of the things that I love. And it's just a study in human psychology. If it's easy to change when it actually fits you. And so I have to tailor everything I do to my clients and to their situation, because while there are 169 strategies and we've shared with you the way to get that, they don't work for everyone. They work, all of them work, but we have to be very customized in our approach so that we're working to a business strengths, not necessarily to their weaknesses. So that's it today, guys. That's how to design your sales conversation. Be sure to join us back next week, as we will have Debbie Merzak on, and we're going to talk about upselling and cross-selling. And then as we head into March, we're going to get into marketing, so you don't want to miss those. Although I will say, what is it? The March 7th, there will be no show. No show, big zero. I'm going to be on spring break. Miss Amy's on spring break the weekend after, the week after, but I'm on spring break, so I will be spending time with my family. And if you've been around me a lot to know, that's the whole reason I have my business, is to support my family. And so one of the things that we support is travels, and I love them. I'm never happy until I have my next trip planned. But that's it for today. That's kind of a rundown. Amy, thanks so much for hanging out with me.
Of course. I love being here.
And thank you so much for everybody that's joined the show. As always, we're here Mondays at 1:30. So you can catch us on Blab, either at yourbizrules.com or on iTunes on the Healthy Business, Healthy Family podcast show. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks so much. Have a profitable week. Bye.